Well, it's July, and that can only mean one thing, and that is Scouching's 2025 NHL Draft Recap Series. I'm so happy you're here. And what we're going to do is we basically just look through all of the draft picks that every team has made. I've caught up on all the guys that were drafted that I've never heard of before, and we're just going to walk through them and quickly give an outline of some thoughts. Now, today we're going to do the New York Islanders, and before we get into it, I am going to say that the rest of these videos will be randomized. There's no real order, but we are going to start with the New York Islanders. So the New York Islanders had arguably one of the most important drafts that they have had, at least in the last 2 decades. This is a team that lucked out and won their first overall selection, and yes, there's a lot of talk about this draft class not being particularly strong, but I think Matthew Schaefer is potentially the highest ceiling player available here, and fills a role that the New York Islanders absolutely will need, especially now that they've traded Noah Dobson. Schaefer is a dynamic, creative, offensive rush defenseman who really shines with the puck on his stick, but also has some good explosive skating ability off the puck to close gaps, get involved in stick checks, chip in around the boards, and just play a really strong two-way game that, in his limited sample this year, drove really good results. He made the World Junior team this year, and honestly, in my opinion, that team looked completely different after he got injured during that tournament. So to me, he was the best player available. To me, there's a really bright future for him, and I think the Islanders have a really impressive cornerstone-style player here for the future. At 16th overall, they got another player I had in my top 5 in Victor Eklund. Literally the only real serious knock that I would agree with him is that he is a little bit small and plays bigger than he actually is. But I will not fault the motor that this guy has. There have been plenty of sub-6 foot tall forwards, especially wingers, by being really aggressive, gritty, grindy guys, and they are very valuable in the NHL, especially in this day and age in the playoffs. For me, Victor Eklund, though, brings more than that. He's a wicked shooter, capable of scoring against men in Sweden right now. He's a player who brings ridiculous skating and creativity and some really interesting creative moments on the rush that led to some really good efficiency numbers in the games that I tracked this year. His possession numbers are fantastic. His ability to suppress defense on paper is excellent. There's so much that Eklund brings to the game that I just can't believe teams felt that there were 15 better players on the board and they skipped over a guy like Eklund as much as they did. But he's not very big, he's not a center, he's an extremely physical player, at least on paper, but I guess that's not his reputation, I don't know, but I don't think the Islanders care. 16th overall, this one was a no-brainer to me. So for me, the Islanders did really well with these first 2 picks off the board. At 17th overall, they drafted Kahan Ages this year, and I am not the biggest fan of Kahan Ages, and everybody knows that, but he does bring a lot of traits to the game that NHL teams value and could be quite valuable moving forward. He's a physical competitor. You cannot take his edge away from him. He is a ridiculously good shooter as well. I've seen some really nice shooting instincts with regards to misdirection and baiting and switching and give and goes and some nice work down low even to work the playmaking angle a little bit more. I do think there is some good potential development for Aitchison, and I think that the behind the scenes work rate and personality are second to none as well. This is a kid who I think will put in all the effort necessary to maximize his potential. What that potential is, we'll see. I think the on-ice product does have further to go than I think a lot of people led on going into the draft. But I mean, it's the 3rd player off the board from the first 2 being Schaefer and Eklund. I'm not going to complain too much. It might not have been the guy that I would have gone with, but he's a nice foil to have in the hopper along with a guy like Matthew Schaefer. Jumping into the 2nd round, they drafted Daniil Pakorov, and honestly I'm a little bit surprised he was available this late. This is a round where I had him ranked. I think Pakorov is a really interesting project for the Islanders over the next however many years it will be before he's NHL ready. He has absolutely dazzling skill levels. He's got an absolutely ridiculous ability to shoot the puck. He is a very big boy, and I think he is beginning to sort of figure out what type of a player he can really be on the ice. He's a powerful customer. He's able to drive through pressure pretty well, at least at the Russian junior level. I would really have liked to have seen him at a higher level of play this year, but his playmaking ability, his pass vision, and ability to really finish checks and play aggressive off-puck hockey were a little bit of a work in progress, but the positives in his game were first-round quality positives. He's got great size, great length, some underrated skill, but a really good ability to score, get to scoring areas, and just power through pressure that I think that the New York Islanders are really betting on here. 74th overall, they took Luca Romano, and Luca Romano is a player that I had at the tail end of my board this year. I do think his overall talent level, and at least the smarts in his game, are definitely higher than 74th in the draft. I think he brings good pace to the game, he's a good worker, but to me he's a player that just has a lower likelihood of getting there, but has all the potential to do so. He's a really good competitor, really selfless with the puck, and a smart passer first and foremost. It's just going to be a matter of really becoming one of those types of players, but a dominant one at the junior level, and then step by step just moving up the ladder, and maybe he could crack the NHL lineup one day. This is right around where I had him ranked as well, so for the 5th guy off the board for your team, I think the Islanders could have done a lot worse than Luca Romano. At 106th overall, the New York Islanders drafted a Czech playing in Finland in Tomáš Pitin. Now, I've watched Pitin pretty much all season long with the Lahti Pelicans junior team this year. He touched Liga Ice a little bit this year as well. I saw him play internationally, and Pitin seems like another one of these guys whose brain is wired the right way to play a certain style of hockey. It's just maybe the fundamentals will take some time to get there. He's got some skill, he's got some good puck control ability, he does have a really good frame to build around, but he's much more of sort of an off-puck guy, getting to scoring areas, trying to just drive offense as a complementary player, to go along with more of the finesse, puck possession-oriented players they drafted this year. Pitin makes sense. At 106th overall, he was a guy that I had ranked right around the end of my list most of this season, and he just never moved the needle enough, consistently enough for me to have him on the final list, but an interesting player who has some traits that could project well, and we'll see what happens. Jumping forward to 138th, they drafted Sam Laurila, a re-entry player from the Fargo Force. Laurila was a player who was on the NTDP last season, and I didn't really see much there that I could see as a projectable NHL prospect. But with Fargo, the things that made him really interesting last year, I think took a big step. The skill, the playmaking ability, the work rate, it all came a ways this season, and it's showed on the score sheet. I think to reward him with an NHL draft pick makes a lot of sense, and while there were players at 138 I might have wanted a little bit more, at that point in this year's draft, I don't know, Laurila is as good a bet as any. He's got some nice offensive tools, you can leave him in college to develop, and who knows what you get out of him, but there is a good skill floor here and some good offensive tools. And at 170th, they drafted Burke Hood, and this is a goaltender for the Vancouver Giants that I'm a little bit surprised lasted this long in the draft. Now, I by no means am a goalie expert at all, but I did watch a little bit of Burke Hood once his name started floating around during this season, and I mean, he seems as good a goaltender as any, with some pretty good size and all kinds of positive traits in his game with regards to his athleticism and tracking pucks around the defensive zone. And at 170th, if you wanted a goalie this season, it feels like Burke Hood was a solid option, and especially in the new paradigm of CHL players going to the NCAA, you can give a goaltender like Burke Hood a lot longer of a runway before having to bring him into the American Hockey League or East Coast Hockey League system. Fair bet, I think it's totally fine at 170th, and I've got no problem with that pick either. At 202nd overall, the New York Islanders selected Jacob Fastnicka of the United States National Under-18 Development Program roster. This is one of the more interesting picks that I really enjoyed towards the end of this year's draft. I've seen Fastnicka pretty much all season long here and there. I really am curious about this player. I think he's one of these high-skill bets that I think teams should be making later in the rounds in this year's draft, or any draft for that matter. And he's just a player who isn't really that impactful a lot of the time, but then once in a while you see him catch a puck, dangle around a guy, have a really nice little puck touch moment, and get himself a really good scoring chance or create a scoring chance for others. He's got some good pace in his game, he's a very energetic player. It's just going to be a question of if he could become a good college player and the rest is a mixed bag, or if he really does capture something from here and could be an interesting long-term bet. For me, Fastnicka's been on my watch list pretty much all season long, and I wasn't 100% sure that he was gonna get picked, but I am pleasantly surprised that someone took a swing on him, and for the Islanders to get him at this point in the draft, especially considering all the other names they've added this season, I don't know how you could be too upset with this entire draft class as a whole. So with that, we're going to give the New York Islanders a rating, and if you're unfamiliar with my rating system, how it pertains to teams at this time of the year, I give them a number and a letter grade, where the number indicates the overall tier of player, the ceiling in total of the group of players that they drafted, and the letter really indicates the breadth or consistency of the quality of that player within that tier. It also does take into consideration the draft pick numbers these teams had, so a team drafting 53rd first is going to be weighed just the same as a team drafting first overall. It just depends on the value that they're getting, in my opinion, for those picks. And here with the Islanders, I'm giving them a 1D. The total potential output of this group could be really, really, really high in a vast, vast array of ways to win a hockey game. You've got skill, you've got intensity, you've got physicality, you have creativity, you've got a goaltender, you've got some size, you've got some power, you've got some shooting ability. There's a little bit of everything in the New York Islanders draft class this year, and I think there are some really intriguing bets here that put them in the 1 category pretty firmly. Matthew Schaefer is probably going to be a hard one to miss once the NHL hits for him. I think Victor Eklund might be some of the best value in this year's draft, and the only real gripes I have are the Aitchison pick and maybe Lowa later on, that I might have gone a little bit of a different direction, so that kind of widens things for them a little bit. But all in all, I mean, the New York Islanders have set a great foundation moving forward, considering they were a team that wasn't completely out of the playoff picture last season. And yes, trading Noah Dobson stinks, I agree, but at the end of the day, I think you've done a pretty good job reloading and moving forward, and I think this could be the start of something really intriguing for the New York Islanders. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server, and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet. So check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.